But that one's weird, so let's get on to Shadow Man: The Second Coming. Shadow Man: The Second Coming is an action-adventure game that was published by Acclaim Entertainment, released in 2002 for the PS2. This game and the original were both well liked by fans, pretty much receiving 7s across the board. I mean, really, in the PlayStation 2 era, what more could you ask for than this? But it wasn't really the game itself that drew this controversy. It was the publishing studio's bright idea for their advertising campaign. And I've read about this several times now. It just gets worse every time. Acclaim Entertainment drew wild controversy when they released their advertising plans for Shadow Man 2. That would see Acclaim advertising the game on small billboards attached to real-life tombstones. But don't worry, it's fine. The publisher said that they would pay the deceased families, and they also said that the poorer families would probably be more interested than others. But it's ideas such as these that are probably why, in 2004, Acclaim Entertainment filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So if you ever want to advertise on their grave, I'm sure the CEO would especially be interested, seeing as this company is fucking dead. VTech Rampage. Outside of genuinely just being a dogshit developer, Ryan Lambord is also willing to rob any grave to garner the tiniest crumb of clout. This is a brutal game that was released only a few weeks after the awful Virginia Tech incident, one of the biggest mass murders in American history. This flash-based game puts you in the role of the shooter and allows you to reenact the situation entirely. This game, it's simply just a case of a horrible situation being capitalized by an even shittier person. The game doesn't have redeeming qualities. But I mean, is that surprising, being developed by a guy who looks like all the worst qualities of 4chan and Reddit took human form? Ryan's incredible career even extended itself a step further, when the same dev went on to create a similar game based on the Sandy Hook tragedy. Anyways, let's move on. World of Warcraft. When you hear the term gaming addiction, what comes to your mind? For me personally, it's that one video where the mom is coming absolutely unglued at her kid because he won't stop playing Mafia 3.
Get up and go to the bathroom.
I just watched this video.
Go to the bathroom. You're shitting yourself.
Not yet.
Okay, anyways, to me, it's always been a funny idea. But in the early 2000s, the cultivation of these insane addictions was sort of just coming to fruition. And where else other than World of Warcraft would be the perfect place to explore this phenomenon? With WoW dominating pop culture and exploding in popularity, many diehard fans fell victim to the idea of creating a second life online. But while cultivating this second life online, many users neglect the only real life that they have, and in turn lose their lives after binging this game for hours and hours. There are multiple cases and controversies that have sparked research into World of Warcraft's addictive nature, such as the man who collapsed in an unnamed internet cafe in Shanghai during a marathon session. Which, like, I don't know. I played a lot of video games, and if I had to choose a game to be addicted to, but I mean, whatever. This hasn't stopped blatantly unfit parents like the one who played a 15-hour session of World of Warcraft, locked away from her infant daughter in another room, allowing it to starve to death while her husband had been away for 9 days. With incidents such as these coming at a consistent pace since the release of World of Warcraft, it's ultimately reflected poorly on the game, seeing WoW itself having the finger pointed at it after these different variants of controversy arise over the years. I'll make this next one quick because it still kind of stings. Probably one of the more normal controversies in gaming was the release of Cyberpunk 2077. Nearly a decade of hype building up to what was supposed to be.
That game was so trash when it first came out, and I don't know why they released it the way they did, but it finally looks good now.
The biggest video game of all time. So, what went wrong? Well, to find that out, we're gonna have to go back in time. In 2012, when Cyberpunk was announced, it was shaped up to be this immersive experience taking place in a sci-fi universe. Since that day, fans had experienced trailers that made the game look breathtaking. Celebrity endorsements from the likes of Keanu Reeves and Grimes. I mean, even at one point, A$AP Rocky stood behind what was supposed to be the most anticipated title of the century. So, did the Cyberpunk regime fall at the hands of its own hype? Going into the release date with hope and promise that Cyberpunk would shape the next generation of video games to come for the next several years? However, I mean, I think that we all know at this point that it missed the mark, leading to such things as confirmed refunds on consoles and PCs, Microsoft and Sony both releasing statements of their own, saying that they'd be refunding the vast majority of customers, and even removing the game from the online store until further notice. Since that bugged out release on December 10th, 2020, the game has come a long way. I'm not trying to take that away from anyone. Many fans have been able to play it in an enjoyable way. However, for me, it just left a sour taste in my mouth, and it left a permanent stain on the reputation of CD Projekt Red forever. Mortal Kombat and the Night Trap controversy. So let's get into it. The king of all controversial games, Mortal Kombat. The series has been controversial for as long as I can remember, but specifically the fatalities featured in the 1992 game caused an uproar. While it became an almost instant cult classic, as much love as it got for its cutting-edge graphics at the time, it was met with, equally as much disapproval just from the overall general public. That led Mortal Kombat to becoming the most polarizing game in North America, sparking moral panic across the nation. Much like Doom, the narrative was still that video games were poisoning our youth and encouraging violence among the general public.
God.
As a result of this controversy, it sparked a congressional hearing which led to the creation of the ESRB, which can be found on the bottom of every video game case. Well, Mortal Kombat and Night Trap. Night Trap was a game that was released in 1992 for the Sega CD. Much less of a game and, sort of like more of an interactive movie. You know those like Netflix choose your own adventure things that nobody ever clicks on? It's basically just one of those, but you had to actually leave your house, go to a store, and buy it. Night Trap tasked the player with observing teenage girls having a sleepover? Okay. Well, this alone is it's weird. It's weird. It sort of has a redeeming quality as the
I think they started getting like followed by. Yeah, you seen it.
player is supposed to watch surveillance, Five Nights at Freddy's style, and trigger traps to capture anyone endangering the girls. Which is weird because, in my opinion, if we should be worried about anyone in this scenario, it's probably the person watching teenage girls at a sleepover through the cameras. But anyways, in that congressional video game hearing, it was both Mortal Kombat and Night Trap that really caused the whole thing. But as weird as Night Trap is, it actually was wrongly portrayed during this big video game violence panic. The original alleged claim was that this game revolved around violence and kidnapping of teenage girls, when you, as the player, are actually tasked with protecting them. But the premise of the game is, it's hardly redeeming in itself, so I don't know if this matters much, but anyways, you get the point. Now we have ratings on video game boxes, thanks a lot. But now, it's time to go down to Bone Town. The objective of Bone Town is essentially the same as GTA's Hot Coffee mod. D-Dub Software's very own game puts you in the driver's seat to control different dudes' meat, and try to get laid in the most offensive ways possible. When you first start the game, you're limited to solely overweight women that are so desperate for some of that Bone Town pipe that they will stop everything they're doing to get their rocks off with animated hunks that look on par with Leisure Suit Larry, leaving the slimmer women to be unlocked in some fashion, such as beating up people who are harassing the women or completing goals for other racist and stereotypical portrayals of people. Above all the deep-rooted issues with the game itself, it just sucks. I feel like that's one common theme that we continuously come back to. It's almost like the low IQ mouth breathers behind this game also lack funding, and where you lack funding, you lack overall talent, probably because building these games was a bad idea to begin with. Arlay. Let's make this one quick because it's honestly disgusting. Arlay is a game that was released on April 26, 2006 in Japan. The game puts
Like a hentai game.
you in the mind of a sex offender with a history of previous arrests, stalking a mother and her two daughters with an intention of completing an action that I don't really think needs explaining. Completing the tasks at hand leads you to, I guess, completing the game, and that unlocks free play mode. However, while this game has been deplorable and disgusting since the day of its conception,
Of course it was Japan. Of course it was Japan. But yeah, y'all messing up, bro. That's it.
the game didn't really garner much attention until 2009, 3 years after its initial release, as it began appearing on Amazon.com.
Hell yes.
Despite not being officially distributed nor supported outside of Japan. That caught enough people's attention to have this game subsequently removed off of Amazon, as well as drive mass attention that led to the banning and conversation surrounding stronger restrictions placed on video games. I mean, you think it would end there, but it didn't at all. This game instead had quite a few people standing up for its restriction, stating that since rape is a lesser crime than murder, and we allow video games to take place where the protagonist murders their enemy.
Oh, that's that scary stuff, bro. I mean, like, I literally see the logic, but it doesn't matter. Because in logic in your own head, when you do something like that, I don't know. I just feel like your brain changes to, like, where you just know you will do that in real life eventually. Like, I don't know, man. I don't support that stuff ever. Like, cause it's kind of scary, cause it's like that California stuff, bro, where they be like, oh yeah, well, pedophilia, love is love, and that's just how it is, and it's just like, nah, bro, you shouldn't be looking at kids, period, like that. But they really try to like persuade you into thinking it's actually okay by comparing that with Call of Duty and how you murder people in Call of Duty. Is like, hey, bro, you don't see people out here like murdering. I mean, yeah, you do, but not because of Call of Duty. I just hate because the logic actually like makes a molecule of sense, but it doesn't matter, bro. It doesn't matter, bro. It is just not what you do, and you really shouldn't be playing video games based off of that, because hentai, porn, pornographic material does change your mind. And for video games, okay, let's just actually, because I'm making a case about this right here. Watch pornographic material, your brain changes, it deteriorates especially after you get your rocks off. Complete alteration of who you are, and especially if you do it multiple times. When you play Call of Duty, your brain might change, but you're not thinking about murdering people, bro. But once you do and then you get your rocks off, bro, it's a whole real change. And what you get your rocks off to matters. Because if you're doing that, playing those kinds of games with those illegal scenarios, and you get your rocks off to that, you're going to only want to get your rocks off to that more often. And it will become a problem. And that's all there is to it. That's psychology. So, with that being said, that's the case I'm making for those types of games. Media, they shouldn't be allowed. But, they'll do whatever they want in the other countries. I'm just saying, like, you trying to make a case, they trying to make a case about that. Nah, bro, kill that, bro. There is no case. There is no case for that. Ever. Like, it's just not a case. Like, you can buy the game legally, play the game legally, but your mind will suffer. That's it. And then other people around you because of that. So, that's it.
Enemies, then why can't our protagonists sexually assault minors, who by the way are 12 and 17? I don't care what excuse or label anyone wants to try and put in front of this game. If you're writing articles or you're publicly defending its existence, there's one reason, and it's because you're the problem. Although this list is in no specific order, Arlay and this game are just obviously the two worst entries on this list. Ethnic cleansing. The name of this shitty game is pretty much all you need to know. Unsurprisingly, it was created by the white supremacist group National Alliance as a promotional piece for their organization. This game was never sold on digital platforms. I think it goes without saying that this game obviously wasn't on the shelves at Walmart.
I gotta go check my tea. It's literally, I can hear it. I'm back.
Either. Streaming platforms have outright banned the game from being streamed, and there's not a single chance of it generating $1 from any viable digital platform. It's said to be the most politically incorrect game that has ever been made. But in 2003, a sequel to this game was somehow released, as if the first one drew such a crowd it needed another. That's enough for me, I'm done. I gotta go take a shower after digging all of these up, and like always, thank you again for watching, I really appreciate it.
That's crazy, bro. Bet. And that was the video. Thanks for showing up.